Hey, what's up? Welcome to season 2 of The Reflection Show. I'm so excited that you're tuning in. Listen, before the show even begins, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure you click that button below. There are some awesome stories this season 2 that I'm bringing to your living room, to your cell phone, to your iPad. Hey, it might even be your friend's phone. But I want you to like, comment, and subscribe and get ready to be impacted, influenced, and inspired with these unscripted stories right here on The Reflection Show. I'm your host, Ramsey Rizard. And remember, your experience matters. Let's get into the show. Welcome to The Reflection Show. It is Monday, and I am so excited that we are here for another episode. You know, every week I'm bringing to you something unique, something empowering, something encouraging, something to inspire you. Yes, the person who's watching this show right now. But we got to continue with this beautiful show because I got a wonderful special guest for you that's going to blow your mind with her story. The one and only Monica May!
Oh my goodness.
What's up, Monica?
What an introduction. I love you. Your energy just flows.
Well,
that's good.
You know, it's a part of my heart. I love people, and, you know, it's always a pleasure to have, you know, someone like you at your caliber sitting in that chair to share your story with those who are in need of your story. You know, I always talk about you never go to the mirror scripted, you always go unscripted. So every day we wake up, you know, we look at ourselves. There's nothing scripted about us. We have to figure out what has been scripted in our soul and how do we become what already been written for our destiny. And I know you got quite a story to share. You've been in broadcasting, radio, and all that for over 40 years. Where did that even begin? How did you even fall in love with getting into entertainment?
In the second grade, one of my classmates, his name is Charles, asked me for my phone number. And I said, why would you want my phone number? He said, I just want to call you so you can talk to me.
Really?
And I didn't know what he meant.
That was some good game.
That was some good game. Use it. You can use it.
Right?
You can borrow that one. But later on in life, that was elementary school. In middle school, I decided that what was happening in that radio that I listened to every day was something that I wanted to do. I had simple questions like, are all of those groups there lined up waiting for their chance to be on the radio? How do they make sure that they all sound so good? Because I had a lot of 45s back then, so I had my own record collection. I've loved music forever. My father was a musician, and I used to travel with him as a kid. I'm on the road when school wasn't in session.
So you were gaining exposure.
Oh my gosh. Sitting in the front row at the Apollo Theater in New York, that's how I grew up. And whether I had a bottle or my books, depending on how old I was. At a birthday party there, it was a beautiful carriage in one of the dressing rooms, but the room was smoke-filled, and you had people like Moms Mabley, the comedian, so many people from that era, because during the Apollo at that time, you would have show after show after show. So a comedian would then be followed by a jazz band, be followed by a singer, and it was just on and on and on, continual entertainment. And I didn't want to go in that room because Moms took her teeth out. She used to like tease me, like throw these teeth. But I remember my carriage, Mom's teeth are in her pocket. Oh my God. So those are my memories.
Wow.
And then later on, I realized that that was what I wanted to do. I loved the voices of the women. And I noticed right away that there weren't that many women in radio. So Vi Higginson became one of my inspirations. And I just knew that that was what I wanted to do. So I went to an HBCU my first year, and I had a lot of bad habits, and I brought those habits with me, and they almost caused me to get kicked out of school. So kids, get your education, leave everything behind you, and just focus. I wasn't focused.
I think you need to say that again.
I think kids, get your education, leave those bad habits, drinking, drugs, all those things. No, really, go there and be serious on your mom's dime, please. And so my English teacher threw some pebbles up at my window, and he said, you haven't been in class like in a very long time. We have finals, but before we get to that, meet me in my office in 20 minutes. I went there and I was really shaken. I didn't know what was about to happen. And he got serious with me and he said, you know, you have so much potential, but you're wasting your life. You're wasting your time. What are you going to do with yourself? I had no answers for him because that radio thing was way back there.
Right.
It hadn't been brought to the surface. And in the very next breath, Dr. Eugene Mathis, I love you. He said to me, I see you behind a microphone. I see you in front of a camera. Wow. And I'm like, that's it. And then I just vomited all of my dreams, goals, desires right there on his table. And he said, go to the library right now and just research. Look for a school, wherever you want to go, that has radio and television station. And that's what I did.
And I'm pretty sure growing up in New York, it wasn't the easiest thing back in the days. How did that growing up in New York affect you in a positive way and negative way, but how did it build you into the Monica today with
that
what you
I
do?
am now? Well, first of all, let me just share this with you and your audience. My full name is Robin Monica May. Robin is extremely shy. So I'm thinking to myself, I know it's what I want to do, but I'm so shy. So when I expressed to family that I wanted to go into radio, everybody laughed. Nobody took me serious. They said, you don't even talk. But I had these wonderful conversations. I had character development, everything going on in my head. Ram, I mean, I could give you a whole interview in my head.
But it couldn't come out.
It wouldn't come out. I remember a math teacher standing behind me and he said, I know you know the answer, but it's no good if it doesn't come past your lips. I was just very shy, very introverted. But I learned to live like Sasha Fierce. Beyonce has Sasha Fierce. Monica became my go-to. That was my entertainer.
That was it.
That was it. So growing up, I grew up in the projects, Ram, and doing the things that I wanted to do, like college, and you know, not that it was frowned upon, but it wasn't the most down thing in the world. And I was also very smart. But I realized, and you and I both deal with kids a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of us dumb ourselves down just to fit in. And I did that, but I got tired of that after a while. But it didn't stop until I got to college. And then I wanted to soak up everything. Then I wanted to teach. I became the first Black female to grace that school's radio station.
Wow.
And I did phenomenal there. Graduated in May, got my first gig in D.C. in September that same year. That doesn't happen.
That doesn't. So let's go back to, because I really want to expound on this a little bit, where you talked about you had to dumb yourself down to fit in. Because there are most people who stuck in a place right now, or they're stuck they're trying to figure out their way into their career, but they have allowed their environment to really not allow them to propel and them moving forward on the things that they should be doing. Like, how did you get yourself out of that place when you were dealing with that type of circle of influence?
That's a very good question. I think I had to know that I was different. I was very different from the average kids growing up around me. First of all, when I moved there, nobody wanted to talk to me. And it wasn't until I got a boyfriend from their group. I took somebody's boyfriend. I didn't know. I really didn't know.
She said she took somebody's boyfriend, y'all.
He was older than me. And when I write a book, the first thing I'm going to say is, what was a 17-year-old interested in like a 12 or 13-year-old girl? What do you think that was about? But it was because he could see my innocence. He could see my that I was going places.
And your personality.
He could see it all. So he latched on.
Wow.
And I found a lot of other guys just latched on for a ride later on in life. And so I always tell girls, I have a nonprofit, let's spill the tea. And in the context of communication, I always say, know your value, baby. Know who you are. Know the shoes that you're walking in, that you're filling, and just be able to walk that line. You may stumble a little bit, pick yourself back up, because I stumbled a lot, Ram.
Yeah.
Life for me was not easy.
I think we all stumble. We all make mistakes, right?
Gotta get back up.
We're not perfect.
Gotta get back up.
I mean, but think about that though. That journey led you to HBCU school. You were the first to bless and to build the radio station there. And now you are the Monica May, who not only been everywhere on every air, but you're talking about Tom Joyner Show and all of that. So when you look at success, and how do you define that now?
Sleeping past 3 a.m. and being happy.
Wow.
I'm extremely happy. But you know, when I tell people I'm not a morning person, they're like, what? You did that for all those years? I did it for 13 years. And it is something, this old white guy that worked because he retired at WDBO, and he said, get used to it because you never will.
Right.
And he walked away from me, and I understood what he meant, but getting up that early is very hard, to be bright, to be cheerful, to be chipper, to be alert, to be knowledgeable of the current events, and to be able to wrap it all up so that you keep people listening they look forward to you every morning. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. So success for me was being able to manage that show. I didn't come back to Orlando to do the entire production of Tom's show. I came back for the last year of high school for my daughter.
Wow.
So that she could get bright futures. I wanted her to go to Olympia. I wanted her to get bright futures and choose a school in the state of Florida.
Yeah.
And then I would take any job. Star had been offering me that job. It was news and community affairs for quite some time. I was living in Houston, Texas, doing radio, but also doing something I had never done before, and that was teaching life skills and communication skills to homeless people, believe it or not.
Wow. And it's amazing that all throughout your entire journey, you've always been put in an uncomfortable situation, even though from the inside you were comfortable doing it. And it's almost like the outside had to stretch the inside in order to develop Monica May that we see here today.
Because I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if I could do it, but I was my best cheerleader that said, you could do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
I remember when we transitioned to Steve Harvey for a brief moment, I said, that show is just so different. What am I going to do? What am I going to say? And I called a friend of mine in the wee hours of the morning, and I know she thought something was wrong with me. I said, you know what? For the first time, I'm nervous. How is this going to work? There was no prep for it.
Yeah.
Nothing. I had to learn the production of Tom's show in like less than a week.
Wow.
And make it work. And Tom's people said to me, you are one of the best in the country in terms of producers. Because it's hard to make a syndicated show work and make it sound local and personal.
No, that's true.
And we did it. We did it at Star, so that was good.
And I remember sometimes I would be driving, I'm like, man, that voice, Monica May, 94.5 FM, I'm like, yo, she knows how to gear you in to that moment while you were in the car. But of course, I think growing up in New York, dealing with, everything compact, you had to take where you came from and use that into the industry you're in, because that's what you were doing in people's life. You were making it personable for people to not just love you, but to love themselves.
I tried to leave my audience every day with something that was going to empower them, something that was going to make them really feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
But I always tried to leave them with a word. And I always said, God willing, I'll be back again tomorrow. And my only regret is that when I left the station, I didn't have a chance to do that.
Wow. Now, let me ask you a question. I know you're excited, right? What are you excited about yourself now? Like, if you could look back and see how far you've come and where you are today, what are you excited about as far as Robin Monica May?
I am excited to still be alive. I said to my hairstylist, I wanted to get to the point, this is so vain, but follow it for a second. After she cut my hair, I looked in the mirror with no makeup on, and I said, wow, I wanted to get to the point where I could say, wow,
Right.
about my own face, about my own body, no makeup. It took me a long time to get to that point. We always, as women, want to cover up and want to fluff up and want to do. But I am so in love with me, finally. It took age. So when you ask me what am I happy about, I'm happiest about still being alive, because some of the things that I was doing back in the day
Yeah.
could have cut my life short.
Could have cut your life short all the way.
And I tell you, I didn't expect to be here these years later.
Well, you know, Monica, as we end the show, there is someone that is looking on the other side of that mirror, like you had your moment at your hair salon, and they're saying, Monica, you know, I've never heard you on the radio. I've never heard anything about you, but what you're saying to me resonate. What words of reflection would you like to share with that person on the other side looking in that mirror?
That is such an amazing question. Look in the mirror and love on yourself. I mean, love every pimple, every vein that pops out, everything about your complexion. Start at the top of your head and go all the way down. And just say, girl, you got it. You can do this. And it's okay. You're gonna be okay. And I try to tell myself that almost every day. Because there's gonna be unhappy days.
Right.
Look in that mirror. I love myself, and it's going to be okay.
Loving yourself, looking in the mirror, and knowing that it's gonna be okay. If you're dealing with anything in this season, know that you're gonna make it through. It's gonna be okay. You heard it from the one and only, the Monica May, on The Reflection Show with your host, Ramsey Rizard. And you know, like we always say before we end the show, you are the dream that's living. And remember, your experience matters. Thank you so much for watching. You enjoyed that interview, didn't you? Well, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and click on that notification. And remember, your experience matters.